Welcome to the City Manager's Report. The City Manager's Report is your preview of the next Oshkosh Common Council meeting agenda and an update from your Oshkosh City Manager. Your hosts, Emily Mikowski of Oshkosh Community Media and City Manager Mark Roloff.
Joining us on your City Manager's Report. Your source for the most current things going on here in Oshkosh in your city, as well as a preview of the upcoming City Council meeting agenda. I'm your host, Emily Mikowski, joined as always by your City Manager, Mark Roloff. And Mark, thanks for joining us today.
Great to be here, Emily.
Now, this is the final City Manager's Report of the season before our top 10 episodes, so we've got a lot to talk about, a packed agenda. We're going to go ahead and dive into our hot topics for the first half of today's show, take a little break, and then return with a review of our packed meeting agenda for Tuesday, December 9th, 2014. So, Mark, we got a lot of updates here in the first half of the show. The budget has been adopted, and the tax forms are going to be going out this Friday. So
yeah, not exactly the most exciting thing, but we want people to know that the tax bills will be mailed. So you'll be receiving them over the weekend of December 5th and 6th, and there's just unfortunately our greeting card for the holidays.
Yes.
But there's plenty of options to pay for your tax bill, and we want to make sure people are aware that you don't just have to show up to City Hall. Number one, you can certainly mail in your tax bill at any time. Mm-hmm. A lot of folks like to pay the bill in person to get a receipt. You can always provide a self-addressed stamped envelope, and we'll mail you back a receipt. And there's no requirement that you have to show up in person. And we, in addition to City Hall, we've got some other locations there as well. Associated Bank and now Community First Credit Union, and you can see the locations on the screen there. Lots of different options, and then there's also the payment option. There's a little fee associated with that one. Not exactly my favorite.
The online payment.
The online payment, but if you're interested in it, the online payment, just check out the city's website, and we'll take care of you that way as well.
And you can drop it off. There's a drop slot by the main doors of City Hall too that you can also give a self-addressed stamped envelope for a receipt.
Right. I mean, if you don't need a receipt, a lot of people think they have to have a receipt. The bill that you receive, all you have to do is verify that you paid it. As long as you have your tax bill, you've got enough records for tax purposes and whatnot. But if you absolutely want a receipt, if you insist on it, we'll certainly take care of it. But you don't have to wait in the lines at City Hall. A lot of people show up on New Year's Eve to pay it. You don't need to do it that way. Come right away when you get it, or mail it in. It'll be a lot easier.
Yeah, it does get pretty busy around here at City Hall around this time of year.
Sure does.
Our next item, a little more positive item to talk about, is something big that happened at the Oshkosh Police Department pretty recently here, Mark.
Well, we found out it happens a little more often than we choose to think about.
Yes.
It's after the two hospitals, I think our fire department is the one that does the most births. But somebody couldn't get to the hospital on time and showed up in the lobby of the police department and said, "We're ready to deliver."
Yes.
And they said, "Well, we're trained for it." And all of our officers are trained in that type of situation. You just hope you don't have to run into that.
Yes.
But fortunately, our police department was quick enough to call our firefighters, who do it a little more frequently. And fortunately, a couple of them that showed up actually have had a little experience doing it on the job.
And I can't believe that. I think it was one of them had delivered one of his own children, and the other one 2 other times on the job delivering babies. So it's amazing to hear how often that happens.
Dave Newber and Matt Herbst both did this. But I'm sure those guys would say the same thing I'm going to say. It's about all of our fire department, our EMS service, our police department. If the firefighters hadn't gotten there in time, the police department would have been there. We're very proud of what the work they do, and sometimes it's a little funner topic to talk about.
Yes.
Certainly beats talking about taxes.
Oh, definitely, yes. And it just goes to show the great training that they do have at the fire department, so we can really pretty much count on them for anything we're going to need here.
They can handle a lot, that's for sure.
Yes, and also the fire department, the firefighters have been volunteering their time. They have started the food and toy drive for the Christmas season, and they're still collecting. You'll actually be collecting this evening.
Yeah, you'll see me out there a couple times.
Yeah.
It's really an opportunity for the firefighters to reach out to the community, because a lot of times they're reaching out on very hectic situations. Here it's going to be a little more low-key, but the firefighters doing this are doing it on off-duty time. Really appreciate that. But non-perishable food, unwrapped toys, wrapping paper, even cash. It's all going to go, I believe, to the Salvation Army. That's who they do it for. And we'll be in your neighborhood, but check out the fire department's website, check out Facebook and see where we're going. We'll be going out of different stations each night, so literally we'll hit every part of the city before we're done.
Yes, and it's awesome, so cool for the kids too, to be able to see the fire truck lit up, and Santa Claus will be there to take some last minute requests for their Christmas lists and everything. So really a fun event every year here in Oshkosh.
Very good cause.
And then, while we're on the topic of the fire department, we do want to mention the fire safety issue. Around this time of year, the holidays, they are very busy with the amount of accidents that do happen, whether it be cooking or decorating.
So be careful. Just that's you know, look at the fire department website. Take a look at things you do with light safety, candles, of course cooking. You get so excited you forget you leave the oven on, or you put so many cords together because you want this extravagant Christmas vacation light celebration. Just take it easy with those types of things. And if you got a question, we're certainly happy to help.
Yes, lots of information on the fire department's website. And like you said, you can always give them a call too. They're happy to give some advice on those things.
Absolutely.
Another fun holiday thing that's going on right now in Oshkosh, the celebration of lights. It kicked off a week or so ago. The council was there that evening for the kickoff of the lighting.
It was really neat. I got to be there for it as well, and it's now through December 31st. There's a lot of free nights, and those are usually the ones where it's the most busy, but it really isn't an expensive issue at all. So, and you can get a discount if you drop off some canned food, non-perishable food, but it runs through Menominee Park through December 31st. But the big deal this year is the location of the entrance.
Yes.
They decided to mix it up a little bit this year. I don't know if they're ever going to do that again, but it's entering off of where it used to exit. So you enter off of Merritt Avenue. So basically you start at City Hall and just head east from Church to Merritt. It's right there at the entrance where you would normally go if you were trying to get into Little Oshkosh right away. But please know that if you go down Hazel Street, you're probably going to get directed around over by the water treatment plant onto Washington Avenue, because you actually want to loop around the water treatment plant to get in there. So just be aware that that's there, and on busy nights, Merritt Avenue is closed at Hazel, so you do have to go around. But a lot of extra additions, a lot of neat things over and above what they've done before. A lot of the classics you see out there, but more LEDs than ever, just to save on electricity and everything. And every year there's another new display, and there's always Santa and his reindeer. Yes,
which is a huge draw to the event. So the new entrance is the old exit.
Right.
Okay.
So just make sure you're on the south end at Merritt Avenue, and you'll get in there just fine.
Excellent. And we do broadcast Christmas music every night, so make sure you tune into 101.9 WOCT while you're driving through in your car, just to wrap the whole experience up and make the most out of it. Mark, our next item here, just a little update, is that we've got some elections coming up, some municipal elections. So if people are thinking about running, they should probably get started here.
Yeah, this is the time of year that if you're interested in running, the mayor's seat is open, is up for election, as well as 3 council seats. There's always 3 council seats available. And you can certainly check with the city clerk's office. You can certainly check out the city's website, especially if you're a first-time person interested. Get some information. The clerk's office will be more than happy to walk you through what the process entails and whatnot. So, but contact the clerk's office, and they'll give you everything you need to know. There's signatures you got to do, and some paperwork you got to fill out. But if you do it sooner the better, then I believe the deadline is the first Monday in January to turn everything in. So
it's going to come up quick.
It's going to come up quick, especially with the holidays. And so most people, from what I've heard, get started early and just get it out of the way before the holidays.
Great, and there's a lot of great information on the clerk's office on the city website as well, people can find. And Mark, we had to ask you, we talked about this a month or so ago about some liquor licenses. Have we heard anything or any new updates on that?
Well, we are technically accepting, we have an open application process through the end of the year. You can always apply for a liquor license if one's available through the city clerk's office, but because we have a few of them open right now, we just want to let people know you can apply. These are called Class B liquor licenses. These are the full liquor license that you can get, and then council is going to take all the applications they receive through December 31 and evaluate them, perhaps invite people to come and make a presentation. But we have 3 of them available right now. Council may choose to limit some of them to certain areas. They can do that. But with 3 open, if you've ever had a thought about using it for current business or a new business, now's the time to do it.
And the deadline's quickly approaching, like you said, December 31st?
Yeah, to get that early consideration in that process, that's the best thing to do.
Great. Well, that looks like it's going to round up our topics for the first half of the show. Now it's that time of the show where viewers have the chance to ask their city manager anything they want about things that are happening right now in Oshkosh. And you're going to do your best to give your best answer here, Mark. So let's take a look and see what the question mark is this week. So the question this week is, what are the new recycling guidelines in Winnebago County? This is kind of a big change here.
The county has added a lot of items that they're now accepting that we've been so used to not using. One of the ones that I've had to get used to are the cartons that are shown there. Milk cartons, juice cartons. Those things are now recyclable. Whatever they've done, you can use those now. A lot of the dairy tubs and lids, cottage cheese, yogurt, things like that, you can now recycle those. I think a lot of those have the number 5 on them and whatnot. And then of course, anything from the deli or bakery, you used to throw those out when you were done. You don't have to do that anymore. Really, the big deal is, please rinse them, get labels off the best you can. And there's apparently a market for those items now. So we're real excited that we're able to expand the amount of recycling that we can do, and certainly that keeps things out of landfills. That saves a lot of money for the city when we can recycle rather than throw it down into a landfill.
Definitely, and I think it was a piece of machinery actually that they were finally able to get in their plant, that they're able to do this now. And I saw the Winnebago County posted a picture of all the cartons and dairy tubs and everything they've gotten so far. So it looks like it is being well received as for just starting on December 1st.
So make a New Year's resolution to do a better job of being aware of what other recyclables are out there, and you'll help everybody by doing it.
Yes, a great question this week. If you'd like to send a question to Mark, simply email it to questionmark@ci.oshkosh.wi.us, and he'll answer it on the next episode of CMR. So we're going to take a quick break here, and when we come back, we'll dive into the City Council meeting agenda for this Tuesday, December 9th. We'll be right back on City Manager's Report.
Stay connected with Oshkosh Community Media Services and the City of Oshkosh. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, YouTube. Sign up for e-updates. More resources, including video, at OshkoshCommunityMedia.org. Oshkosh Community Media is your media on your schedule. Connect with us today.
Want to know what's happening in local government? Stay in the know with City of Oshkosh government meetings, live on TV, City Cable 10, online at OshkoshCommunityMedia.org, and on Community Radio WOCT 101.9 FM. Miss the live coverage? No problem. Catch replays on City Cable 10. Stream online from OshkoshCommunityMedia.org or visit youtube.com/Oshkosh Community Media Services.
Welcome back to your City Manager's Report. Thanks again for joining us. And now it's time to dive into the City Council meeting agenda for Tuesday, December 9th, 2014. And right off the bat, Mark, we want to mention that there will not be a meeting on Tuesday, December 23rd.
Right. That's typically done when meeting is so close to the Christmas holiday, so we're going to be skipping over. So we're going to have a long lapse between meetings. It's going to be 5 weeks between the meetings. So we have a lot on this agenda because of that.
Yes, and we'll have a lot on the next agenda, I'm sure, for that 5-week gap there. So first, we've got a couple of presentations to kick off the meeting, Mark. First is the UW Oshkosh Accelerator Program. What can you tell us about that?
Well, this is something that the university has been very interested in doing to help businesses get startups. And I think the university, because of the resources they have with their business school and other resources of the university, an accelerator is something to help new prospective businesses get a good start with training and even potentially a facility. And the university is one of the recipients of that Department of Defense grant that was received for the entire area. And they just want a brief counsel on what's going on, what an accelerator is, and maybe generate some interest with somebody in town who may be interested in starting a business and want to learn a little bit more about how you get started on something like that. You might have a great business idea but you don't necessarily know how to start a business. So this is part of getting started on that, and we're excited to be participating with that.
Yeah, well, eager to hear more on that. And then the second presentation, 2 presentations at the beginning of a meeting. Woo.
Yeah.
The second presentation is on the strategic plan, and this one you actually met back in August on this. And do we have any kind of drafts or anything to look at?
Yeah, we had a day-long retreat with the council and the department heads, and it was really updating our existing strategic plan, which is due to expire at the end of this year. So it was like, where do we go next? What things do we want to reemphasize? So we've got a draft strategic plan to show council, and the departments are filling in the details. And now that the budget's done, we have a good idea of how much resources we can apply to different goals and whatnot. So we get their final review of the strategic plan. They'll formally adopt it right after the first of the year, but the staff knows that this is the direction we're moving on, so we're working on it already.
Excellent. Well, so we'll be eager to hear about both of those things, especially with the strategic plan coming up so quickly here.
Yeah, but there won't be a lot of changes from what you've seen before. Infrastructure, neighborhoods, fiscal responsibility, engagement, those are all the things that are going to be there, and they're going to continue when we brief you on that on Tuesday.
Excellent. Consent agenda item we want to talk about is approving the contract with CLT for statutory assessor and commercial appraisal services. And now, what exactly is this, Mark?
Sure. Well, by law, we have to assess properties for tax purposes to fairly distribute the tax bill to everybody in the community. CLT is a firm based in Brookfield that does work for us currently to assess our commercial properties. We are now going to use CLT as our statutory assessor, meaning they're going to be the lead responsible agency to manage all of our assessing duties. However, we still have a staff internally that does a lot of the residential because a lot of that's very demand responsive, and we want people to be available here at the office. So we're going to have a combination of a contractor as well as city staff to help with our assessing services, and one of our staff will be managing day-to-day operations, but CLT will be there to kind of make the final call because they have a wide range of knowledge about assessing responsibilities throughout the state. And we want to make sure that we're consistent within this market because a lot of people have properties that they own elsewhere in other communities. We want to make sure that we're kind of in sync with them as well.
Mm-hmm. Kind of just oversee the whole inspection process.
Exactly, and then ultimately they'll be responsible from a legal standpoint for compliance with all the laws related to assessing.
Wonderful. Our next item here under new resolutions is a new development next to the rivers, actually, and another age-restricted senior living development property right on the Marion Road area, right?
Yeah, this is called Rivers 1.5, and it was really kind of an infill project. There's a smaller piece of property. It's about 1.5 acres that's wedged right in between what is the Rivers property on the left that you can see on the aerial map, as well as the Rivers 2, which is just to the east of the subject site there. So there's not a lot of room there, but there's also some contamination from old industrial uses there, and we really can't dig up there without causing a lot of problems. So what's being proposed is on the river side or the south side, it's going to be kind of a park-like setting, and so we're putting a much smaller, or the developer's putting in a much smaller 40-unit apartment complex for seniors because it's going to be adjacent immediately to the rivers. So it was felt that we could squeeze that in there without detracting. We don't want a ton of residential down there, but we want a good ratio of commercial and residential. But the park setting there is probably the key feature that you're going to see.
A little more of the landscaping aspect in the part that you can't really build on.
Right, a lot more landscaping because we can't build it, but we didn't want to just completely leave the property alone. We can get some value by putting the apartment complex there.
Definitely, making good use of that space. Mark, our next item here is a conditional use permit for the planned development of Sam's Club. And this is kind of the last piece of what the council will see as far as this plan goes.
Right, there's, this part is the conditional use permit for the service station and the auto body shop. The overall Sam's Club store has already been approved, but anytime you have a gas station, you got to get approval for that specifically. So again, this is at the corner of 20th and Keller, right adjacent to Highway 41, the old Walmart site. And they're not going to start construction probably until around springtime. So I'm guessing that they're probably not going to be open until early 2016. But they want to get all their approvals and get all their ducks in a row before they proceed with breaking ground. But with winter setting in, they're probably not going to change the hands with the land until after the first of the year. So timing-wise, just isn't going to work out so well. But it'll get done, and early 2016 we'll have
We'll be shopping at a Sam's Club.
We'll be shopping at a Sam's Club, exactly.
Looking forward to that big development, Mark. Our next item here, Approve Economic Development Revolving Loan Fund Program Manual. What exactly is this all about?
Well, first let me tell you about a revolving loan fund.
Yes.
In economic development, oftentimes there's projects that can't happen because there's a gap in funding that they can't necessarily get from a bank, and they don't necessarily have the cash for it, and it isn't necessarily appropriate or a good idea to necessarily give a grant for something like that. So what you have with a revolving loan fund is it's a fund that we can loan some money to get a project finished from a financial viability standpoint. And then as those loans are repaid to the city, it revolves back and it's given to another loan. So it revolves and we reloan the money. So you really only have to fund the program once, and then the proceeds of the loan payoffs keep the fund going in perpetuity.
Kind of reusing that money in a way.
Exactly, and that's the whole concept with a revolving loan fund.
Okay. And how much money exactly is being loaned out here?
Well, it normally is done in smaller chunks, but we have our retiring tax increment districts that have been very successful. Northern industrial area, some in the south side of town. These TIF districts are closing, and our long-range finance committee took a look at it and said, if these were formed for economic development purposes, the monies that are left in a TIF district when we've paid off all our bills are by law required to go to all the taxing entities that had been allowing the funds to go into the TIF district for all these years, specifically the city, the county, the school district, and the Voc Tech district. And so now we're deciding what we're going to do with the money that we will retain for the city, and it was felt that it was best to continue to do something with economic development. We don't have a revolving loan fund, so this will enable us to fund it, and we're going to fund it with about $2.4 million with several of the TIF districts that are already closed and will be closing in 2015. So by the end of 2015, we're going to have over $2 million, possibly as much as $2.4 million.
That's great. And so that was really kind of the best practice then for you, or the best option with that extra money from the TIF districts.
It really is a best practice, and there's other communities that have that, and we're at a competitive disadvantage by not having a revolving loan fund. It's not for everybody, but if somebody needs that little bit of extra push to get a project going, we want to make sure that we have that tool available for them.
Excellent. And our next topic is one that was one of our favorite topics, it seems, this year is GoEDC for Economic Development Services. And it's a contract that the Prager study actually recommended.
Yeah, you may recall the Prager study was a nationally recognized firm in economic development that recommended a public-private partnership to further economic development. And one of the things it pointed out was that how does the city know that any investment they make in this economic development group has some accountability to it? This contract ensures that accountability because it's going to have specific measures and goals that the GoEDC will have to reach in order to keep earning that money from the city. So it's a contract, but it's it's goals that we want to achieve, that GoEDC is willing to do with us, and we're very excited that we're going through a very successful fundraising effort, and the private sector folks that are looking at investing are asking, is the city in on this thing? And the answer is yes. And last meeting, council members asked, well, if we're going to be putting this much money in, what's the private sector doing? Everybody wants to know with a public-private partnership that everybody's in. And so we are, and we're going to be into the tune of about $160,000. We've been diverting money from other community development, economic development programs over the last few years to get ourselves in a position where we can fund it at this level. And I believe we're going to be getting $2 of private dollars for every $1 of public dollars from the city and the county.
Amazing.
It's outstanding, and it certainly exceeds anything that we've done in recent years. And I think this shows that the community is ready to move forward with economic development. You know, we have to be competitive, and we're not just competing with cities up and down the valley. In fact, if anything, they're our fellow partners. We're competing with other states, and frankly, we're competing with other countries. And we have to make sure that we have our best foot forward and not just be good at economic development, we need to be great at economic development. And this is going to give us that opportunity by working together and truly in a public-private partnership, because outside businesses want to know that the business community is behind this, and they are so much. And they also want to know that the local government is in on it. And this will demonstrate that we are as well. I'm really excited at the prospects for economic development, and the collaboration that we've been working on for so long is coming together at just the right time. So I'm excited about what this means for the community and for economic development.
And I think you can definitely see, like you were saying, the great reception that the private sector has had with this. And then this contract just, again, the accountability and the measurement just, hammers it in there and really keep that momentum going.
Yeah, we have to be accountable, as you said, and that's what this will ensure.
Yes, and then one of the final items we want to talk about here is extending the Grand Opera House agreement for 6 months. What's the update with that, Mark?
Well, we have a 5-year agreement with the Grand Opera House Foundation Board that's due to expire at the end of this year. And we've been talking for a couple months, but things are still not all put together. So what we're proposing to do is to extend it for 6 months to give us more time to work through these issues about how the Grand is funded by the city. A large portion of it comes from the room tax dollars. There's questions about if that's appropriate use of room tax dollars, or is it appropriate that the increase in room tax revenues that we've been getting with the new hotel, should the Grand be getting all that? There's a lot of debate about that issue, and the council can't, make that type of decision in a very short amount of time. Similarly, the Grand is in a situation where their fiscal year is on a July to June basis, and we want to make sure that we're in sync with their fiscal year as well. So the council will be talking about this on Tuesday, just to vet it out and then see if we can get a 6-month agreement. Then we'll work on a more long-term agreement as time goes on.
Excellent. Kind of line up those years like you said.
Exactly.
And then we just want to make quick mention for the future agenda items. There's a sex offender workshop coming up on January 26th from 6 to 8 p.m. And that's also open to the public, I believe.
Yes, it's just a workshop, but council's been asking for this for a while now.
Wonderful. Well, Mark, that looks like it's going to do it for this episode of City Manager's Report. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Always glad to.
Again, the City Council meeting is this Tuesday, December 9th at 6 p.m. You can watch it live on City Cable 10 and on our website, oshkoshcommunitymedia.org. Or you can also listen to it at 101.9 WOCT, which is also now available online and on the TuneIn Radio app for mobile devices. Make sure to like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter for all your community and government programming and updates, or check out our YouTube channel for government meeting replays and past episodes of your favorite programs. Again, don't forget, if you have a question for City Manager Mark Roloff, you can send it to ci.oshkosh.wi.us, and he'll answer it on the next episode of City Manager's Report. As always, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.